Now that you've made a cylinder, which you've turned into a cup, and you've made a bowl, the next thing would be making harder forms like vases or flower pots. And for those things, you're gonna need more clay. So this time when I cut off a lump of clay, I'm gonna take quite a bit. And because of that, the centering is gonna be a little more difficult, but you're gonna have to use more of your muscles, brace your legs on the side, but then you get to make something bigger and cooler. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean my wheel because there's a lot of excess water on it. And to do that, to clean your wheel, just get a clean sponge. Notice how I'm wringing out all the water from it because I want to absorb and take the water from, and I'm gonna go ahead and scrape off where the rib tool go. Take the rib tool and just scrape off this middle part, start afresh. All right, so there we go. I'm gonna go get more clay now. So you have your piece of clay. Once again, form it into a ball. Takes a bit longer when you have more clay. But it's very important that it starts out as a ball because it will be way easier to center. So this is quite a bit more clay. This is probably like 10 pounds of clay. Before I was working with like 3 pounds of clay, but this one's kind of massive, so. That was not in the middle. Woo, moved the whole thing. So I'm gonna scoot it towards the middle as best I can. All right. And then we're gonna begin the centering process with more clay. So this is gonna take longer than centering the other bit of clay that we were using before. But it's the same thing. I'm squeezing my hands together. You can see they're wobbling a little bit because this has quite a bit to center. So I'm coning up right now from the bottom, bringing it up to the top. This gets rid of air bubbles. I can hear some popping right now. And then you're gonna go ahead and push down on it. And there, you need a lot of water when you're doing this. Especially because the clay I'm using right now is old, so it's pretty hard. The clay y'all will be using is gonna be nice and soft. New clay is the best clay. So I have this top centered, but look at this. This needs work, so I'm gonna keep centering it. Sometimes I like to use my forearm when I have this much clay. Just kind of lean on it. Okay, and then I'm gonna go from the side. My hand's gonna be like this. And see how this rim is formed? I'm gonna fix that now. All right, so it's just about centered. All right. All right, so I have decided I'm gonna make a flower pot because I love flowers. And if I make another flower pot, I can buy another flower. Another plant. Okay, so now it's centered and I'm ready to dig my thumbs in again. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go in with the sponge because it's gonna hold a little bit of water and make it easier to establish a bottom. Go back in with my hand. It's a long ways down, so I'm gonna pull outward a little bit just so that I can get my hand down in there because it's pretty difficult right now. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at currently, which is not far enough down. So, oops. So I'm gonna pull out a little bit from the inside, more pressure on the inside than on the outside, just supporting on the outside. Okay. Okay. So now that I've opened it up a little wider now, I'm gonna continue to go down deeper into the clay and establish a bottom that's 1 inch to ½ inch thick. Sometimes I like to use my fist stick, especially with this much clay. Ooh, crap. All right, that's far enough. Whoopsies. So now I'm opening it up wider as I have reached the, it's probably like 1/4 of an inch thick even down there, which is fine. But it just gets a little dicey when you get, so all the way down there, and now I'm gonna open it wider. Okay. Making my first pull. This is So before I do anything else, I'm gonna have to trim off this top again because I messed up. Which, you know, you learn from your mistakes, so messing up is not that big a deal. Gotta go grab a wire tool. Alright. So once again, you're not supposed to do this, but if you run into trouble like I am today, you're going to put it in, let it go around, and then lift off. Okay, and as you can see, once again, it's centered. I must have messed up on my pull because the lip is equal all the way around, the thickness of it. Which is good because then it's not gonna get thrown off center as much. Okay. I'm gonna use the rib tool when I'm making these pulls. Okay, looking good. Bring some more of the clay that's way out here inward. Okay, so now at the bottom what I'm doing is I'm compressing it. I'm gonna compress it, let me clean this up. All right, I'm gonna compress it and collar it in and make a pull like that. So you're gonna compress your hands in, and then you're going to lift up like this. So this is actually a better example of a cylinder, but I am making a flower pot. So now that I've started with the cylinder, I can begin to shape it into a flower pot. So how you go about doing that is you're gonna put, depends on what kind of flower pot you want. Some people just like straight up flower pots. Some people like them to have a little bend in them, a little bend, then a little lip. I think that's what I'm going to do, is put a little bend in it and then a little lip. So that's where we're heading with it. Ooh, there was an air bubble. That's what was throwing it off center. Yay! I found the root cause. You're not normally excited about air bubbles, but if it helps you figure out what was wrong, that's always nice. Okay. So now that I have a tall cylinder, once again, I'm gonna start shaping it. Alright. So I'm gonna take clay from the bottom, and then I'm going to bow it out here. So putting quite a bit of pressure on the inside. And then as I form that hole where I'm putting more pressure, kind of bringing it outward, I'm gonna put less pressure on the top. Okay, you see how it got a little bit wider here? Gonna do that again. A thick lip just so that I can form it more later. Hey, it's starting to look a little bit like a flower pot. I'm gonna clean the wheel just so you can see it better. There's also excess water in the middle I can get out. All right, time for another bowl. Starting at the bottom, finding some thick clay that you can pull up, and then pushing it outward. So now I have a good shape here. I just need to shape this part. So that's what I'm gonna work on next. But I like the shape that's formed in the middle of it. It's gonna be good for the roots. We're gonna have lots of space to grow outward, but now I gotta make an opening so the plant can grow like this. I'm gonna get water out of the bottom first. Check the thickness down here. All right, and now I'm gonna make this open up a little bit by putting more pressure on the inside and supporting from the outside. And I changed that just a little bit. And then I'm gonna change it a little bit more. All right, so that's a pretty big flower pot. I'm gonna trim the bottom. Again, I was going for like this kind of a shape. So it goes like wee outward. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this one to dry on the, oh, I need to trim it. Let me trim the bottom first. And then just smooth everything out with the sponge now that I have the shape that I want. Okay. So here's the flower pot, and I'm gonna leave it on the back to dry, just because it's gonna be hard to pick up because it's 10 pounds of clay, and I don't wanna warp it when I'm picking it up. But here's a flower pot. I have lots of plants in my flower pots that I've made. I can show some pictures of those to you if you'd like. Okay, well, that's all for today. Just gonna place this over here. All right, and then I'm gonna clean up my area. So, all right. We went over coning, centering, and other things.